Hi, this is Ed Amoroso. I want to welcome you to Tag Talk. Today I want to cover, first of all, a company called Kyndryl that I think you probably have heard of. Good company, they do security consulting and other types of consulting, but today I want to talk about their security work. But I also want to make some comments on the consulting and professional service industry, primarily here in the United States. So let me start with Kyndryl. It's an IBM spinoff, really excellent company. I've dug into their offering. And one thing that stands out that I think is kind of cool, that I think is worth talking about, is this confluence of security and resilience. Like when I spent time with them asking, what do you cover? How do you approach the market? They kept referencing resilience. And I said, hey, let's talk about that. And the more I thought about it, the more I thought it is appropriate to look at sort of a broader context than just security, but to think about resilience and think about operational excellence and continuity and things like that. That's really what you get when you do hire a larger consulting firm. They're going to come in and offer broader context. So I really like that. I've written a report that I want you to download. You can take a look at what our comments on Kyndryl, some of the prospects they have for growth. And again, I think they're an excellent firm. Now, I want to generalize my comments here and talk to you about security consulting and some of the things that I think are going to change pretty significantly in the coming years. There's three things in particular that I want to cover here. And I think they'll affect Kyndryl, but they'll affect everybody, affect anybody doing security consulting. In fact, for me, my personal journey doing this is that I was a researcher at Bell Labs, and then we would get these calls to go do these projects. I didn't really call them consulting, but I guess in retrospect, they were. One of the best ones, we all went out and spent, I remember how long I was there. I was in Hong Kong with the Hong Kong police, helping them configure Kerberos like in the 90s. It was a very cool project. I still have this nightstick they gave me from the Hong Kong police I've had in my office. But it was sort of my first forays into consulting, and I got a sense of how it works and how you engage with a client. But let me offer three things that I think if you're in consulting or you're hiring a consultant or you're talking to Kyndryl, that you should keep in mind. Number one is that I think increasingly the engagement with consultant is less about picking platforms and picking technology and more about rationalizing, meaning here's this mess of stuff that I have. How do I make sense of it? How do I simplify? How do I reduce the number of vendors? How do I reduce my budget? This is really becoming, well, I would say, job one in most of the consulting engagements that we observe or that we farm out from our research and advisory at TAG, or that we just watch our enterprise, research as a service customers engaging with. So budget and rationalization would be kind of number one. Number two is a little bit more disturbing. This one, I don't know the answer to this, but let me tell you what I mean. In the old days, you had young people who would work in the context of a consulting firm, kind of doing the work and growing up and developing expertise. So this idea of being young and developing expertise was the original concept. Today, that's being done with AI. So I worry about AI replacing kind of that youthful, energy that comes with new people right out of school, with their briefcase and their night's clothes, ready to go, starting work at a place like Kyndryl or McKinsey or Deloitte. They learn the ropes. They come up through the ranks, and then they become the senior partners. What happens when all of that's done with AI? When we're generating reports or doing the research with AI, how are young people going to learn? I don't have an answer to this. Maybe, as you engage with your consulting partner, you can ask them what they think. But it definitely worries me because I do think that that's something that as we get to the next generation, where are the experts going to be? And I hope it's not going to be AI. The third thing is something that's more uniquely American. And I don't want this to get political, but I want to be sort of clear in my comment. I think when you're an international firm operating out of the US today, it's becoming awkward. We all know that sentiment is an important part of establishing a relationship with a professional service firm or a consulting firm. And let's face it, a lot of American companies right now are dealing with the headwind of an awful lot of countries that are having some issue with our politics, with the polarization we have in the United States, the fighting. We've become a less dependable kind of partner as a country. And this is on everybody. Let's face it, we've seen this happening for a while. It just seems to be bubbling up now. So if you're a consulting firm, I understand that challenge. The way Kyndryl's done it is they've got this massive global operation where they tend to operate locally. So you manage, say, as an American firm, but you operate locally. And I think more consulting firms are going to have to do that. So I would say that that third point is all around sort of the awkwardness of the current politics in the United States. It doesn't help matters for consulting firms. Let's hope we can get our act together here in the United States, because if we don't, I think professional service firms are going to suffer in their ability to grow globally. So we'll see what happens. But again, I hope you download the report on Kyndryl. I hope this has been useful guidance for you, and I hope you'll click and subscribe to our channel. I'll look forward to talking to you in the next one.